Hey, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, gaybro, Jose.
What are we today?
We are at our homes. The homes we never
Quarantine.
leave.
Well, we live, but we live not for socializing with other human beings.
We go to the grocery store and we go to the dispensary, and that's it.
Basically, it's just imagine a world where actually dispensaries and supermarkets can be the same thing, and you can just buy like a loaf of bread and all your edibles, or maybe like an edible loaf of bread.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking, what if this quarantine happened 5 years ago and nobody had weed?
I think that probably, the SF Weekly.
I do.
The last, well, back in the day, like 5 years ago, probably the last 10 pages were about advertisements about
Uh-huh.
doctors for jazz, you know
Sure.
those. So I assume that in that case, that business would explode directly.
Yep.
Everyone requesting some kind of a prescription for weed.
But what about when it wasn't even legal as a prescription? What if you just had to be sober at home?
You had alcohol.
Sure. Yes, I know. I'm just saying this is a nice thing. We're blessed by whatever God gave us coronavirus to have weed in our homes at this time.
So wait a second, are you telling me that you needed a pandemic for justifying having weed at your place?
No, I'm just saying it's a blessing that we
Okay.
get from the
Okay.
Almighty to get
Okay.
through this.
I just feel like it's a bit more of a how you say, like consolation prize. That is
It's-
okay. You have a pandemic. Plenty of people are dying around the world, but you have weed. Don't worry.
At least the Bay Area still has weed delivered to their home.
That's true. That's true. You even like have delivery service. So we watched this time because it was my picture. I'm going to be introducing it. We watched The Boys in the Band, and the reason why we watched this is because after watching some days ago Tom at the Farm, we discussed if there are good LGBTQ plus movies that they are actually created by someone that it falls into that category. And checking a couple of rankings, the first movie was actually The Boys in the Band, a 1970 movie from William Friedkin, that is actually the director of From the Exorcist.
Which is the first American mainstream movie to use the word cunt. And they used it several times.
But they use it with the how do you say, with the French notation? Le Cant.
It sounded so cultured coming out of
Yep.
their mouths. Yeah.
Yep. So what is this movie about? What do you think about it?
So this movie was originally an off-Broadway play that
Hmm.
received an extremely positive response. It's the first mainstream movie, I'm guessing one of the first mainstream plays to focus on gay characters, which up until this point, they were often stereotypes and made fun of. And then interestingly enough, right between the time the play got popular and they decided to make it into a movie, the Stonewall riots happened. So in between the play and the release of the movie, Stonewall
Yep.
was a thing. So the movie is basically, it centers around a birthday party. Remember, it's based on a play, and the movie stays true to that. So it's just one location.
Hmm.
Basically, this Alan, right? I had a hard time with their names. Alan is preparing a birthday party
Michael,
no,
Donald,
for another guy with a name that starts with an A.
Harold.
Harold. That's
It's
it.
Harold's birthday, but it's Michael's house.
No, Michael is the one who's the loser who moved out of the city. He's the handsome one.
No, Michael is the one that lives there, the one that is a completely soaked in debt.
I thought Alan owned that place.
Alan, I don't even know who Alan is. There is Larry, Hank. Alan is the rich guy. Sorry, Alan is the rich guy. Sorry, the rich guy, the straight guy that goes visits Michael.
No, that's Cole.
No, that's Alan McCarthy.
Well,
Did
seems
we
like we
watch the
disagreed
same
about what
movie?
we saw.
No. Come on. There is like the extremely effeminate guy that is Emory.
That's
No.
Emery, right?
There is Larry and Hank. That is the couple. No. There is Donald that used to be the lover of Michael.
Uh-huh.
There is Alan, that is the straight guy that goes visiting. There is Bernard, that is a black guy. That's his definition, the black guy.
Oh, come on. He was a total token piece on this set. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. I confused Alan and Michael's names, but we agree on everything else.
Okay.
So anyway, they're preparing a birthday party for their, roughly 6 or 7 friends.
Yeah.
And it's Alan who gets the call. It's Michael whose friend it is. No.
Yeah. It's Michael's. It's Michael's friend.
Okay. So Michael has a college buddy, presumably straight college buddy, call him a few minutes before the party starts, crying and saying he really needs to see him. Yeah. So the guests start to arrive one by one. The college friend calls back and say, I can't make it anyway. Then the college buddy actually drops by, and everything descends into hell.
Yeah. So
as they get drunker and drunker, they get nastier and nastier, and everything is terrible until the very end.
I mean, that doesn't mean that at the end it gets better.
No. I'm saying up until the end.
Until it's over. Yeah, until it's over. The other thing that I probably highlight is that Michael mentions at the beginning of the movie that he's aware that he's a terrible person when he drinks, and that he has been sober for 5 weeks.
Yeah, so he's a self-hating alcoholic, and he's a self-hating Catholic. He fucks all night and then goes to mass and cries and lights a candle.
Yep.
So I feel like every single one of these characters is basically a stereotype.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That continues until today, but it's an accurate stereotype, and at the time it was groundbreaking to just have these men star as queers. Sorry, you can't see the F word.
So do you like it?
It's interesting because another movie we watched recently, the
Tom and the Four?
No, the circus one that I wanted to murder you about, The Greatest Show on Earth.
Come on. Okay.
I could not accept that as a period piece. I just held it to the standards of today when it was created in the standards of 1950. This film, maybe because I'm gay, maybe because I love plays, I don't know. I could see it for what it tried to be. And it was groundbreaking, and considering the socio-political context of the Stonewall riots, I think it's a very interesting piece. I read this review from 2008 when it was coming out on DVD for the first time, and they were talking about how by the time the Stonewall riots happened, this movie became completely unacceptable because the gay movement wanted to show very positive, happy characters, just normal characters. So it wasn't kosher to like this movie after the riots. But before the riots, this was just an accurate depiction of homosexuals, I think. I don't know. I wasn't around there. So I think it had an awful lot of problems that are exacerbated by the fact that it's 2020. But there were things that I found that were great, that were important and remain to be important today.
What problems do you find on it?
They fall too far into the stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
They complain nonstop in terms of whether I feel like this is realistic. It's not. Nobody that hates each other that much sticks around at a 2-hour party. The college friend who ended up being straight and was so uncomfortable and was violent and really wanted to leave, nobody would force him to stay, and he wouldn't choose to stay.
But do you think that he was really straight? Because a part of me was thinking that the reason why he actually stayed is because he was struggling with that. I think that he was gay, no question.
I think probably he was gay as well.
Yeah, but he was not accepting his sexuality. He was still on the perspective that is like, hey, I have a wife. That is true that I may have left, but I don't know why. Is that I have a wife back home. Is that I could actually go back to that. I could go back to my normal life, because my alternative is being as fucked up as everyone else that I'm seeing here. Is that he's falling into one of these stereotypes. Is that I could actually be like Hank, someone that leaves my wife for a guy, but is that may not make me happier.
I completely agree. I'm not saying he's not gay. I'm just saying ultimately the play ends with him claiming he's straight. And there's no real proof, which drives me insane. I cannot stand when people wonder and talk about somebody's sexuality, probably because I was a closeted gay man for a long time. I also think just in character development, the black character was offensively
it was a product of his time.
Life.
Yeah.
Like after he makes his phone call, he just shuts down and like kind of lays in the corner, and somebody has to like wake him up and it's Emery. Emery's like, wow, you're really heavy, and he can't really talk. He's just stumbling out. It's like, come on. And then the stupid hooker. Oh, that character pissed me off.
The hook. I agree with you from the perspective that every single character is like a different stereotype of a gay person.
Yep.
But I have to say, I love this movie. I love it. But I also
finally I know.
Yeah. But I also think that it's a product of its time. It's something that is like those stereotypes apply on the 60s or early 70s. Well, it was 68 when the play was released. But I can see that when you look forward to nowadays, you still see some of those stereotypes. And I agree with you that it's a bit crazy, like people that they are basically hating each other, that they're going to be like just staying on the same room for 2 hours. It's true. But at the same time, it's something that I've seen in the gay world.
So that's your experience and it's valid, but I just kept thinking, like, you and I are friends, right? One of us would maybe say best friends. I don't know which one of us would say that. But I feel like if we were having a party and we started to talk to each other like that, we would have the emotional maturity to be like, we really need to not be talking right now. I'm going to go home. Let's talk in a week or something.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, look, those two people, Harold and Michael, they treat each other in that kind of way. And one of the things, this movie actually is pretty good about like leaving stuff unresolved and just telling you there is more to it than one you can actually see here. It doesn't try. Yeah, it doesn't try to be like just over exposition, trying to do like over exposition over each single character. Like, for example, when Michael tries to do like a racist joke about Bernard, what's his name? At that point, Bernard. Bernard says like, look, I acknowledge this from Emery, but I don't accept this from you. So it's like, that he has like a special relationship with Emery, but he won't accept that from a white guy like Michael. So there is like way more to the relationships that they have, the dynamics that they have. So we don't know, for example, what is the picture that Michael gives Harold as a present.
Oh, I really wanted to know. And the director knew, and if somebody asked him, he'd be like, well, I think it's important that it's ambiguous.
I don't know what it is.
Just tell me.
Sure, but I don't know if in the play that's actually explained or not. But it's just for saying there is more to their friendships. There is actually something that gets them together. It's like maybe they were like really important to each other in the past, and it's like at this point in life they hate each other. But it doesn't actually remove the importance that they have to each other in the past.
And it's also kind of an accurate representation of groupthink. There is this amazing podcast I know about called This American Life. And
Thank you for giving me one. You
might want to check it out.
Thank you. I will.
There was an episode about this librarian convention, but not librarians, like PhD. They got PhDs in library science. They're the ones who archive, everything in our society. And about how they got together at a hotel in New York, but because when you get together, the intelligence of the crowd is the lowest common denominator. So they all spent the night like drinking boxed wine and watching Twilight. And all of them were very confused. Like, why did this happen? We're, smart people.
We're better than this. Yeah.
You just get dumb. And so considering that, and you see these people, and it's almost like they're not stereotypes, they're almost archetypes, right? These are the characters that we see everywhere in San Francisco as gay men.
Yep.
And so each character, I guess, has enough of its archetypalness that.
Except Bernard. I'm sorry, but Bernard is that's
But
that's a
also,
mistake.
isn't he representative of the racism that we see on the apps every day? Like no blacks. Like that's not uncommon to see. No Asians.
No, but the thing is, like, he's not displayed in a way of no blacks. He's a bit more like the diversity token.
But
You know,
that is what black people were at that time, and they still are. They're like the token black. Oh yeah, I dated a black guy once. They're like
I
a
had
token.
I had the feeling that Mark Crowley was going for the days like, oh, and there are also black gay people, but I don't know them, so I cannot develop this character in any kind of way. But he's black. You know, like with every other character, you can see like what is their sign of identity. Is like what defines them to actually turn into the of archetype. But with Bernard, there is nothing. It's like his archetype is like being black.
The New York Times just described him as an amiable black bookstore clerk. They didn't give him a name, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's what we were at in the 70s.
Yeah, but that's the only thing that the movie gives you. And that he doesn't like to just be treated in a racist way. Like I assume that every single black person.
So I don't know, man. So like I said, lots of problems, but I can see it for what it was. And did you know that they're remaking it this year?
Yeah, but the thing is that they're remaking it with the cast that did the revival 2 years ago.
Oh, what a pity. I was imagining like the cast of, what was the gay HBO show that failed?
Us.
No, the one we always saw them like.
Oh, Looking?
And stuff. Looking, yeah. I wanted them to do it like the cast of Looking. That would be more interesting.
Nope. So I think I agree with you that there are some failures in this movie, but you know, is that we actually talk about other movies recently, like The Lost Boys or Clueless, that they're stuck on their time. That is like, okay, when you actually just watch this for the first time as out of their era, it didn't age, you know, exactly as you would expect it. But it's like, I think that this movie, you could remake it by nowadays standards. You could, but it would actually be watered down. But it would be watered down because actually the perspective, you know, all the homophobic comments that Alan makes, they will be watered down. It wouldn't be like as believable. It's like at that point, this was fucking groundbreaking. It's like in '68 when this play was out, and even in '70 when the movie came out, it's like there was nothing like that. And even by nowadays standard, there is nothing that I can actually watch as a gay person and say like, oh, you know, I can actually relate to this kind of behavior from these characters. This feels real to me.
That's fair.
I mean, for example, the relationship between Hank and Larry. That Hank is his first relationship out of a marriage, a failed marriage, and for Larry, he is this kind of very promiscuous guy. Is that kind of stuff? It's like you can see that nowadays. That kind of tension is that you can still see it.
Yeah, totally. And as cliche as it is, the couple trying for monogamy where one doesn't believe in it, I mean, that is the bulk of the interactions I see in San Francisco.
Yeah, that is that you come to San Francisco and then one of the two really wants to be open. So there is going to be like this kind of tension that is portrayed pretty well here. So honestly, I think that it has its failures. I don't think that it's a failed movie by any measure.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
With problems.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it has problems. I agree that it's like when you actually just boil it down, like the character of Bernard is when you start realizing how like, look, these characters are, I cannot believe these characters as human beings. I can only believe these characters as vehicles for just displaying a specific archetype that Mark Crowley thought about like the gay population. But I appreciate that this being before like the gay revolution, you know, the LGBT revolution, this actually display a bit more of a darker view on what being gay is. It's not about like being happy and having sex.
Like nowadays.
Exactly.
So again, this piece that I read that I think was in SF Weekly in 2008 when the DVD was coming out, it brought up a point like, so the gays born like, let's say 1975 and after, certainly it's easier today than it was 15 years ago, but you cannot compare it to what it was pre-Stonewall, right? And so this is this is just a life that we've never experienced and we can't understand. And
True, but at the
not that we
same
can't
time,
understand it, it's just we
yeah.
didn't experience it.
But the funny thing is, and we discussed that multiple times about gay cinema, I had a feeling that there is a big component of gay cinema about displaying the you cannot still be gay. Is that you are going to be like suffering some risk. And we talk about Brokeback Mountain multiple times. That's the reason why God's own country is so surprising, because it's not about like being accepted or not, and it's in rural Ireland or Scotland. I don't remember.
One of the
But
two.
the what?
One of the two. I don't
One of
remember.
the two, yeah. That area.
They're all white over there.
Yeah. But this movie is not really about the acceptance, because it's a group of gay friends. Alan, that is the outsider, is the homophobic perspective, but it's the homophobic perspective of someone that may be gay. And at no point he's actually threatening, about running away and calling the police. That is something that he could have done at that time on 68.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's this like, I'm using the same words a lot, but this is the archetypal or stereotypical self-hating gay. Like, they complain for 2 hours. Like, that's all they do is complain. It's not about anything but suffering because they're homos.
But do you think, Michael is true, he complains, he's completely self-loathing. He hates himself because he was raised as a Catholic. I can relate a bit to that because I was raised as a Catholic. And when I was coming out, I was not hating myself, but it was like just, okay, this is not exactly what God intended for me. But yes, the rest of the characters, they don't. Emory doesn't hate himself. Harold doesn't hate himself. Harold may hate himself from the perspective that I'm not pretty enough. I'm not handsome enough for this gay world that is selling this kind of perfect beauty. That actually happens even nowadays.
Yeah, all of it are still themes that we see today. All of it. It's just like, how much of the self-hating queer can we take?
Yeah. And I agree, there is like the self-hating part, like someone that was raised in a very Catholic family. I think that that's no longer as predominant as it used to be like 15, 20 years ago. That part, I think that is like just going down because society has become more acceptance. And if you are lucky enough of just being raised in an environment that is not going to be like pointing at you about like you cannot be gay because being gay would be the worst thing, is that you're going to be more accepting with yourself. And it's not going to be like creating trauma. It's when you just have to accept the fact that you are gay. But everything else, I think, except Bernard, that I think that Bernard is just how it was displayed was wrong. I think that everything else is still okay. So that's the reason what I think is like, I think that I don't think that it can be translated one-to-one to nowadays, but I think that still what this movie does is something that it could be translated to nowadays.
I would agree. And how did you feel about the play, thinking of it as a movie?
I loved it. Because I agree with you. We discussed it a couple of times. It's like I love those times. In this case, I knew that this was a theater play, but those times that you see a movie that is like so minimalistic, that is, okay, there are only a couple of characters or 3 characters or whatever, and you can see this portrayed directly into the stage. Because that actually makes me think is that this is about the characters per se. And in this case, it's about the characters and about what they represent. So
I really enjoyed the dialogue, the back and forth, which you get a lot in plays. There were a lot of aspects that I liked about it. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I was going to be asking you, what did you think about the game that they play with the phone, like calling someone that you love?
See, that's part of the, I guess I would say, complaint I have, is that when they all get that mean and injuring each other and injuring themselves, and then they played that horrible game, which was just a disaster, that's where it kind of stops being believable. I understand it as a device to provide, like a plot device to provide some sort of insight that we hadn't had up until that point, because it's based on interactions outside of this group. But I don't think it was particularly realistic, or I guess I was also a little bit disappointed at the insights we got. They weren't that interesting, I guess.
No, I see that. What I thought is that they were playing with another stereotype that I am a bit more familiar with. That is this kind of gluttony for punishment and for self-flagellation. There is like all of them, they end up like just reviving that they fell in love with someone that is straight. I would never correspond them. And it would actually just ridiculize them for just being gay and being in love with them. It wouldn't be like something like, okay, thank you, I really appreciate it, but it's like, I cannot correspond that. It would be like just ridiculizing them completely.
Were you ever in love with a straight guy?
I don't think that I was ever in love with a straight guy. I think that it was attractive to straight guys, but it was, for my mentality, is I would never allow myself to feel more for a person that I know that is straight.
So going back to the actual subject, but just looking at it as you and me as human beings,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like you could go to a party that got that dark and that mean, and you would sit there and play that game and pay attention to the point system?
I had the feeling that if I was in that party and I was that drunk, I would be throwing up. That's the only thing that I would be doing. If they were playing that, I mean, because I would be Donald. I have a feeling that I would be like just laying there, like, okay, I don't care. I have like some medication here just in case if something goes wrong.
I shouldn't have called.
Yeah, that part, sure. It's true that sometimes it feels a bit more like, okay, let's embrace the melodrama. We want to just reinforce the feelings through the melodrama, like mechanisms. And I wish a part of me actually wish to know who Harold would have called.
Because they didn't go to.
And Michael, like those two, I was thinking, okay, maybe they will call each other. And did you
I actually thought that. I had that same thought.
Yeah. Did you get what was the relationship between Michael and Donald?
No. I had a hard time kind of figuring out who they all were to each other.
Yeah. And did you know what Michael did for a living for having that amazing apartment? I bet he was like just, I don't know, like drowning in there.
Jesus Christ, I was so jealous of that apartment.
Yeah. What area were they in? I think they mentioned the area in New York. West Village?
I don't know. I just remember.
Yeah. But I like it. I acknowledge that it's not a perfect film. That it's like pretty easy to actually just pinpoint about like, oh, this is not okay, And I think that all the jokes that Emory does with Bernard, as we were discussing on the greatest show on earth, is like, look, you're not talking about blackface, but you're like pretty close to that. Because you're also playing with the black stereotypes. There is a point that he actually says like, why do you eat some watermelon? That is like, the only reason why you're saying that is because you know that that's racist.
But so also representative of the 60s, so.
It is, but that's the problem that I have is like why Mark Crowley had the need for just adding a black character just because he's black. Did you know that they actually did a sequel to this?
No. The same scriptwriter?
Yeah, the same screenwriter, and it was the voice from the man, I think, and the story takes place 35 years later, the man from the voice, 35 years later after this, the original play. And the whole group gets reunited because Larry died.
Well, of what? Because all of them are dead from AIDS.
No, he dies from cancer. Because the question is like, Larry has to die from AIDS. Is that this has to be the case? But no, cancer.
But in real life, I looked up some of these actors. They died of AIDS young.
Oh, that's it. Actually, I don't know if all of them they were gay, but at least
no.
Yeah.
So the guy the guy sitting on the fire escape with the blue shirt.
What?
Oh, it's your background. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. I can see it. Yeah. Let's see if I can.
He was the friend that comes around first.
He's
the
Donald?
one that moved up.
Yeah.
Yes. He died of AIDS. He was a playwright.
Oh.
Yeah, I Googled some of them. It was not great.
Gotcha. Yeah, for most of them, this was like the highlight of their career.
I didn't recognize any of them. Did you?
No, I checked a couple of them. I mean, I checked all of them. I couldn't find anyone that it was like, oh yeah, I saw something. No.
To be fair, they're play actors, so maybe they just stuck to Broadway.
Yeah, actually, some of them. I don't know if Michael, for example, was the same actor as on the off-Broadway play. But now the Ryan Murphy revival. Well, sorry, there was a revival in 2018 for the 30th anniversary of the play. And it's the same cast that Ryan Murphy is going to be using for the Netflix movie.
But was it the exact same script, or they updated it?
They updated a bit. So they removed that. I was reading some reviews about, like, look, if the Bernard character was already weird in the original version, now when you actually cut everything that it was offensive in the original version, what is the point? Having this character is like, what is the point? Because at least at the original version, you could say, like, the point of this character is just making you see how gay people can also be terrible human beings from the perspective of being racist with someone that is black. It's like, in this case, like, no, they're no longer racist, but this character doesn't do anything. Is there, basically there.
Well, maybe we should watch that next. Is it a movie or was it a play?
It was a play, but I think that Ryan Murphy is reviving the revival for just doing a Netflix movie with that.
But there's nothing to watch now.
No, there's not. The thing that I appreciate is that all the actors on the revival, they were gay. They were openly gay. You know, so
it's probably a good step. Like, let's have gay characters play gay characters.
Yeah. So and the cast is interesting. I was reading some reviews, and they were saying that, look, you cannot put Zachary Quinto, that is a handsome guy, to play Harold. You can't, because the main the leitmotif of Harold is that he doesn't consider himself handsome enough for a gay role.
And he isn't.
Sure, but as an original actor, yeah, maybe he's not the most handsome guy, but Zachary Quinto, he's a handsome guy.
I just want to be very clear. It's not that I don't find him acceptable. I'm saying there's unacceptable beauty standards in the gay community that he would not, pass by, just to be clear.
No, definitely. And even by today's standards, when you actually look around in San Francisco, is that there is still plenty of people that they go a lot to the gym, not because they want to just feel healthy. It's because they want to have this kind of body that other people are going to find attractive. Yep. It's like, there was a meme some time ago that it was, if you don't like yourself, go to the gym as hard as you can until someone likes you. But it's true. I know people that they do that.
It's true. And also, I don't know if there's anything wrong with it. I mean, if you want to work to be very attractive according to these typical standards, is there a reason you shouldn't do that?
But
isn't that like putting on a t-shirt you think is cool, or, having a beard?
Look, it should be about like how you see yourself. If you feel like, look, I don't find myself comfortable in my own body, and you want to actually go to the gym until you find attractive and find yourself, like, I don't know, like comfortable with yourself, that's okay. But the problem is that criteria about like what you find attractive, what you think that other people are going to be like finding attractive, and you actually project on yourself, is just given by the outside world. We are over influenced by the outside world on that.
Yep. No disagreement here.
Yeah. So what is your score?
I scored first last time.
Yeah, but I also picked this movie.
God damn it.
I already wrote my score. I'm not going to move it, I swear.
I would say a 6.5.
6.5? Okay. Mine is an 8.
It's a big gap, but not crazy. Not like
it's not. Yeah. I loved it. I couldn't actually just look away. I was just tantalized by it.
I get it 100%, but if you were to score this objectively compared to all of cinema, would you keep that score?
Yeah, because I think that this is like a period piece. And period piece, no, I think that it's a critical piece of its time. Not a critical piece about like the Lost Boys could only make in the 80s or Clueless could only be in the 90s, as they were made. I think that this actually gives me an understand about what being gay in the late 60s was.
But wouldn't the definition of a great film be something that is timeless? Do you think this is timeless? But
it's what I told you. It's like, I think that most of this movie, with just a small tinkering, could actually be translated by nowadays.
Okay. Yeah.
As a gay person on the 30s, it's like I felt connected to what was displayed there. and I have never felt connected to an LGBTQ movie. And we discussed about
Even
this.
in Brokeback Mountain, you don't feel like you're a cowboy?
I didn't feel
Love
like I
with the
was a
other cowboy.
cowboy. No, sorry, man. No. And no, it was like that, no. But it's that these people, they don't feel the same about being gay, albeit they live in a reality that they could be lynched to death.
I totally get everything you're saying, 100%. And yeah,
Yeah.
these characters felt relevant today. All of their archetypes we see
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
in San Francisco.
Yep. Yeah, and the problem that I have with it is exactly what you say. Is like they're archetypes. They're not human beings like properly fleshed out. It's a bit more like the Mark Crowley. He actually thought about like, okay, what kind of gay people are there? Is okay. You have the self-loathing Christian. You have the guy that is depressed because of his upbringing. You have the guy that doesn't consider himself happy because he's not handsome enough. You have the extremely effeminate guy. And he played with those stereotypes and throwing them. But it's like I still think that this is a bit more of an honest interpretation of how like what being gay is than Brokeback Mountain.
I really disliked Emery as a person, but also he was the one I wanted to know more about. I was like, you seem so interesting. Like, I don't like you, but tell me about yourself.
Because he feels like a tragic character. He feels like there is more drama and suffering to you than the kind of happy, snarky, sassy person that you display.
He's definitely on the other end of the spectrum than the college buddy. It's like, hey, you can be anywhere in between these two. Where would you like to be?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So if you had to actually project yourself into any of these archetypes, who would you choose?
Ooh, it's tough because the guy married to a woman I identified with a lot, but then also the kind of failure to launch guy, the first one that arrives to the apartment.
Donald?
The one who moved out of the city. Also that guy.
Yeah.
And you? Maybe the black guy, because at a party I would just be crying in a corner.
No, I think that probably will be a mixture between Hank and Larry, the two
I definitely
guys.
see that. Yep.
From the perspective that is like when I came out, I was exactly like Hank. I could see that. And something that was like pretty interesting about Hank is that he's supposed to be the jealous guy, but there is plenty of small shots or short shots, that is about him staring at other guys.
Yeah, he had sexual chemistry with a lot of characters, and he was the one that wanted monogamy, like just straight marriage.
Yeah, but I had a feeling that is like the reason why they display that is because he's with a very promiscuous guy, and he's actually just trying to quote unquote learning to be gay, and it's what he's taking. That is like, okay, being gay is actually just flirting with other people or just trying to connect with gay people, maybe for the purpose of being gay.
Which is also a theme very common in San Francisco, where there's like this attraction for the guy who married a woman. Like that's hot, but also he's not respected because he's not like fully gay. He didn't come out when he was 20, so what is he now?
Yeah, and the perspective when Larry says that is like, I love many people. I don't love like just you. It's like I love them in different ways, but it's like I feel that kind of attraction. So yeah, I can see a bit on both. I know that makes me sound like a terrible person, like it being really on this kind of a spectrum, but I don't care. I'm not Michael.
You can edit this out later.
Yeah. I don't have self-love. No, I mean, I think that I was not expecting much from it because I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't either, actually.
Yeah, but it's like this is like a seminal piece. Is that this is something that I think that every single gay person during this mode that is pride, that everyone should watch.
I would agree with that. It's much more useful than anything you can find in the gay category of Netflix, for instance. Yeah. This is good. You'll learn something.
Yeah. And I was reading some reviews. I even read like part of the original review from the New York Times. And they were saying the kind of impact that this had for straight people that they watched this movie, that they made them rethink their perspective over the gay friends, or just gay people in general in New York. because as we were saying, is that this doesn't display gay people as we don't give a shit. They display gay people as, look, we are just the result of everything that it was just put on top of us. So
yeah, I'm sure it was a very powerful film in 1970.
Yeah. So I was mind blown. I would recommend it. I just recommend it right now to everyone. It's like not only to gay people. I think that is like this is worthy to be watched, even by nowadays standard. I appreciate, as you do too, like this kind of theater plays that they're turning into movies when they can actually compel this, when they don't try to go all out, when they just try to compel like the minimalist aspect of it. And
I would agree with that. I would say it's worth seeing for anybody. It is a good movie.
Yeah. But it's only a 6.5 for you.
Because of so many problems.
Okay. No, that's completely fair. So what are we watching next time for sure?
I'm gonna hold off. I need to find out what films are the longest.
Are you still just like keeping some resentment about the greatest show on earth right now?
Celine Dion goes boating. Both.
Come on, Celine Dion goes boating was like a long time ago. You know what we should do one day? Yeah, we should do
add up the minutes.
No, you already said that. But no, we should actually just go back and just watch some of the movies that we used to watch before we started recording.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like Celine Dion goes boating.
I don't know what we're going to watch next. I already picked one movie. We're going to watch the
Hunger?
Bowie film, The Hunger.
Okay.
And I'll pick something else, or maybe you decide.
Yeah. No, the one that I was thinking about, and it's funny that you brought up The Hunger, because I was thinking about this other David Bowie movie, The Last Man on Earth.
I've heard of that.
The Man Who Fell to Earth. So you want, we can actually just make a double David Bowie feature without...
Right. That might be my quote of David Bowie for a lifetime, at least in film.
Not even Labyrinth?
I've never seen Labyrinth. I have no desire to.
Okay, I would just send you the pictures where David Bowie is like wearing these, I don't know, like uncomfortably for the viewer tight pants.
I've seen those pictures. Trust me. I know a good bulge when I see it. So
Okay. So The Hunger then?
Yep, that's the one.
All right, thank you, man. This was great. Thank you, folks, for listening.
Wash your hands.
Bye.